Hi, I'm Richard Rellis here with columnist Bob Robb. There is a group of us of a certain generation that learned government from Schoolhouse Rock. And the I'm Just a Bill video trivia, the bill was designed to require school buses to stop at railroad crossings, which I imagine, Bob, you would agree might be a federal concern. But that bill didn't say anything about paving the road leading up to that railroad crossing, which you say in this column should be a purely local concern. But the federal infrastructure bill, you say, is filled with these things you call pork.
I guess I didn't learn my lesson well enough from the Schoolhouse Rock instruction. It does seem to me that there's a difference between what's a federal responsibility and what's a state and local responsibility. It remains confused, but it used to be that legislators routinely would get into appropriations bills earmarks for purely local projects. Jeff Flake and John McCain led a extensive multi-year effort to get rid of the earmarks. And in about 2011 or so, were successful, and there's been a moratorium on them until this year. And with the Surface Transportation Act, the Democrats have opened the spigot. All of Arizona's House Democratic members ponied up ideas for $20 million in pork that was offered to each and every member of Congress. The Republicans in Arizona's delegation didn't sign up, but other Republicans did, and there's a lot of GOP pork in the Surface Transportation Act as well.
And I guess even when Jeff Flake and John McCain were fighting it, the thought of one person's pork being someone's bacon they bring home for their district. Do these projects not help these communities and do jobs and do this kind of things that at least Biden talked about doing with this bill?
Well, there's very little in the pork portion of it because you have a limit at $20 million per member. And so it's, even though there's grandiose claims that are made, including by members of our delegation, about how much good this is going to do for the community or for the economy. There's just not a lot of bang for the buck there. This is mostly getting political credit for better signalization or a round page that an individual member of Congress can say, I delivered that for you, and send out a press release about all that they're doing. The problem, as Jeff Flake identified, is that it then binds the members for this little amount of money to vote for the overall bill, regardless of how big and bloated it gets.
Right. And so that became like you're essentially, I hate to use the word buying, but that's kind of what you're asserting. You're buying the vote for the overall bill with that little sliver of pork.
That's the way John McCain viewed it. And he found it, Jeff Flake found it as a practical way of shutting down a mechanism to get to imprudent spending. McCain was actually kind of offended at the sense of bargaining and being sort of a bizarre that it turned legislating in Congress into. So he thought it had not a formally corrupting, but an informally corrupting influence on the process.
It is hard for a bill to become a law, as Schoolhouse Rock taught me. And I'm guessing, Bob, for this case, you're not hoping and praying that this bill, you would hope and pray this bill just remains a bill.
Well, I hope we do need to reauthorize the Surface Transportation Act. I'm hoping that the Senate will be less pork-oriented than the House was in purchasing the votes to try to pass it.